Hello again, this is Quirke van Wyk and I am in front of the theology building at Samyuk University. This is in Seoul, Korea, South Korea. They have about 6,530 students, of which 530 students are foreigners. I am not teaching here, my wife is. For the record, I'm not teaching here. I am just using the Adventist setting for talking about, again, Sennacherib, Hezekiah, Isaiah, and Taharqa. This is video number 4, and I wish to look at some more evidence regarding this matter, since there are lots of information about this time in the history found in Egyptian sources, Akkadian sources, biblical sources, and Greek sources. So we hope to look at that. So today we are mentioning the fact that in 1966, just to recap where we are, in 1966, Siegfried gave the two-campaign theory for the book of Kings 18, 2 Kings 18, and verse 13 to 16 is the first campaign. Then there is a switch over to, with many years lapse, from 701 down to 689 for the second campaign. And the second campaign was later between 2 Kings 18 verse 17 to 19 verse 37. So, and that is campaign 2. That is in 689, right? So, okay, this is where we were. So we've already discussed so much of the evidence already, but what we didn't discuss, and I hope to look into, is some more evidence today. And so we will hope to look at the evidence as it is presented. I have I have indicated the Taharqa and his religious propaganda or self-establishing narrative in the colonnades. We have done that. So we have done that. There is the Taharqa Inscription 4 and 5. We have mentioned that. That is. Then there is the Turin stela of 1467. It is in the Metropolitan Museum as evidence used by modern paradigm people from 2013 that Shabaka is before Shabaka. And this Turin stela 1467 was published by William J. Murnane. Murnane is his name, Murnane in 1977. Ancient Egyptian, for a book on ancient Egyptian coregencies. And he, somebody, Robert Morkot and Stephen Quirke, analyzed the stela in an article in 2001 and found that it is fake. But if you look at the stela, yes, it is fake, but it's a copy from original. It's inconceivable for me that someone will sit and think, okay, I want to create a Shabaka and Shebitku co-rulership, so let me cook up this information and then put it onto in such a presentable way as here. Very creative, very artistic. I doubt that. I highly doubt whether that is what is happening. So what we have here is really, in my opinion, a clay impression of the original. So someone somewhere out there still has the original. Shabaka is standing with his two hands up. Behind him is a young boy, but it is clear that it is Shabaka. His cartouche is on the left bottom. Reading from left to right, it reads, if you read from left to right, Shabaka. The second cartouche is his father Shabaka. The cartouche is also between the gods. You can see that same Shabaka one between the gods and Shabaka. Shabaka is standing in the front and he's a larger figure, and Shabataka standing behind is a smaller young boy, maybe a 14 or 16 years old. That's Shabataka. And the evidence is for me so overwhelming and clear, and that I have a hard time to cancel this idea. So who is so artistic and so historically artistic, and for what purpose? What can the person get? It's for me rather a modern duplicate from an ancient true original. Someone is sitting with the original somewhere else. Okay, right. Okay, it is the fake argument. There are many people who reject bullai and say, oh, it is fake. It's not true, because we don't have the original seal. Does that work? I don't think we work with that situation in archaeology very easily. Then there is what is called the Wadi Hamamat M187 in eastern desert of Egypt. In the eastern part of Egypt there's a big wadi, and all the pharaohs used to go there and cut big slabs of stone from this. They used to make big slabs of stone, and so many pharaohs went there. The cartouche of Shabaka can be seen with Amenirtis one, which is it is right above his head. One can see the cartouche. This is in the 12th year of Shabaka. His wife, Amun's wife in this time, was Amenirtis one, and Shabaka looks very young here, very young, maybe 20 years old. Nevertheless, that is. Then there is a stela that William Shea mentioned, which is really it's mentioned by William Shea, but it is called the New Redford Taharqa stela of 1993. He published this. I will show you pictures of it. Every time I show it, it was very unclear, but I will try my best this time. This is what you see here, and here. Okay, so he found this in 1990, and then he translated it, and it seems like almost like Kawa 4 and Kawa 5, data from those two inscriptions. It looked like someone who wrote this inscription took information from those two and record some kind of battle that Taharqa had with an enemy. So what we're going to see here is that the military battle was in round about 690, because 690, 81, because he talks about the high rise of the Nile River. So there are a couple of things in this inscription that is very enlightening for us to look at. The enemy, I will give some information here. What we have here is there is the enemy, but the enemy's name is not mentioned. The city is not mentioned, the enemy is not mentioned. And then there is a war preparation. The speaker said that he will go to a city with to provide horses and chariots more than anything. The enemy did all this in marching against me, line 7. But the speaker set forth, hastening to the place where they were. This is Taharqa's inscription. They were destined for a severe and grievous blow, the works of my hands. I had no compassion on the least of them, nor intent on the most influential of them. And soon they were fleeing before me with fear pulsating through their limbs. Line 11. I forced his confederates to the ground all at once. Then there is the settlement after the victory. Next comes the settlement after the victory. I settled them in villages and their cattle, and it says, in their hands, and I had brought the mellifers of the levy, and I put them in the house of Amun, and made them responsible for the divine income of honey. There is an Amun prayer that is given also, and then he prays to Amun, which means he's a god, he's an Amun worshipper, which is typical Taharqa. And then the enemy is overland, possess cattle and allies, possibly excel in honey production, lines 1 to 13, and once defeated are to be settled in special quarters and villages in Egypt. He's sailing south. There is an oasis. Redford suggested it's the 8th year of Taharqa for forward counting. The 8th year, he would probably say 683, but I think Shea said 685. My own personal view is it was in the year of 689, and then the counting is backwards. When Amun recognized him, while Shabaka was still reigning, he was recognized by Amun 6 years before as the next ruler, so that his 6th year falls on his coronation date, when the Nile is high, when the war was just the year, either in that year or the year before, was the war with Sennacherib in Egypt. So this is then an inscription that is very important. I will stop here as far as the Egyptian evidence is concerned for a while, just saying that the Redford inscription, scholars are very quiet about it, but I think Redford had a tremendous information here, very relevant to this issue of a second campaign. And William Shea is not that, you can say, creative, quote unquote, on the issue. And secondly, this is something that needs to be paid attention to in future, and not just glossed over. I notice all these scholars is quiet about this, but nevertheless, it's something I want to look at in future. I will stop here because I will look at the Akkadian evidence later. Thank you. Take care.